Hello and welcome back to Karborundum Quest. Today we have a bit of an episode about bases. Now, as you might have seen in the previous episode, I have launched the Juna ship. It's in orbit currently and it's ready to go. So I'm just waiting for, not for a launch window, but I'm just getting a few things sorted before that. So what we have here, because this launch window is coming up a bit sooner, we have a ship that's designed to go to Dres. Now, obviously, Dres it's similar to the moon. It's further out than Juna, but it's similar to the moon. So this ship is actually designed, or at least part of it's designed to land on Dres. I'll explain that in a later video when this actually gets to Dres. You'll see what happens. But that's the entire plan for this. And I had to keep this in because I think this is my funniest launcher. This is my quick crew launcher. I'm building a few things at the orbital space station. I needed a few engineers, so I thought I'd show you my fast way of getting crew up there, which is just an atmospheric booster with an Apollo module slapped onto the front of it. Again, this module's from SSTU and they're absolutely brilliant. What you can see there is literally two parts in the main Apollo module. Everything's contained within that, so it's fantastic. So, now on to the base building. Now, as people know, I have sent a base to Minmus previously. I've sent a couple of bases there now, and I'm trying to recover the parts from the old one because I want to remove MKS from my save game. So, as a part of that, I got kind of annoyed and pissed off, and I decided that I would just send a rover, and instead of putting it inside a rocket, I just strapped two rockets to the side of a big rover and shot it towards Minmus, and that's what this is. Now, this is part of the Buffalo mod, again, Angel 120, I love his mods. And, oh, tell a lie, the wheels from this are part of the Buffalo mod, but the actual cabin is a bigger version. It's from the Heisenberg mod, which is part of your airships. It's basically an airships mod. However, you can repurpose the main cupola modules from the airships and make them into other things. I've chosen to make it into a rover purely because it gives me bigger amounts of space. So I've slapped on, there's a few drills on this, and it's basically an assembler base. Now, I have a few things that are on Minmus at the moment. I have a crashed spaceship. I have a base that's not really doing what it was intended to. It managed to flip completely upside down and the drills are too heavy to move even with 4 Kerbals. So basically the base is scrapped, and that's what I'm going to do to it. I'm going to build a new base, but I'm going to scrap the old one into equipment and parts and material kits to make the new stuff. That's my entire plan. And yeah, I could have been softer with that and tried to recycle a bit more of this rocket. It did have more Delta V than it needed, but unfortunately things went sideways, as they usually do when I'm playing, and that's what makes Kerbal fun. So here we go, I'm just setting up our first inflatable base. Obviously you need equipment to inflate these, and this ship came with equipment loaded onto it already. And through the workshop mod I can scrap parts to get material kits to build new things. This is the entire point of this particular section of the base, is it's self-replicating. Or not self-replicating, but I can harvest and replicate more in situ. So there we go, just sorting up our storage. There's a little slant on this, and I figured out later on it was because of the pipe connection to the main buggy. But there you go, that's what our base looks like at the moment. The original base. It's got lots of life support from swapping over the mods, but it managed to invert the base and there was all sorts of problems with it. So the only reason I still have it occupied at the moment is because the science in the science lab that's there, and I don't want to waste any science. So I'm still researching that, and there's life support for that one Kerbal that's in there, but everything else is scrap. I just want to keep that person alive and scrap the rest. So for the moment, just testing this little thing, bringing this little section that was attached to it over to the base, and as you saw, just grabbing science on the way over, because, well, it's always science. So there we go, out we go, grab the science, and then destroy it. Destroy the parts, and I kept that one goo bay just because it might be useful. And there we go, that's our little workshop assembler. So I'm just putting a queue in for new parts, just to add to the base, and I'm just going to expand and expand and expand. It is a bit confusing, it doesn't run along the exact same lines as what you see when you're in the assembly buildings. So it can take a little minute to look for things. Now here we go, we have the jester again. This time I knew I needed a bit more for this base. And I was looking at designing a different craft, and then I realised I could just send one of the crafts that's on the Juna ship straight out to minmus. Because I had it saved with everything that's inside it, it's already set up. So I took one of the jester crafts and literally reused the entire thing. So this is a bit of a sneak peek at what's going to turn up at Juna. And as I've mentioned before, these have VTOL capability. They weren't designed specifically for that, but they can do it. They can do it on both Juna and Kerbin, so landing on minmus is nice and easy. Obviously making it just a little tiny bit more difficult for myself by coming into minmus retrograde, but this ship is designed for atmospheric use, so there is no real problems there. And we have a few extra crew on board it just to help with the assembly. Obviously the more engineers you have of a higher skill level, the better it works. And there we go, killing the velocity, controlling it from the docking port and swapping over control. Swapping over the engine, should I say. So the way this is made is actually a whole load of surface mounted engines that have just been merged into the OPT body. The way that the OPT bodies work, they're not like the normal stuff you get in Kerbal. They have a gap at the side which is supposed to be your fuel tanks and can be used for all different setups of fuel tanks. So I just merged them in instead of using Infernal Robotics, because I've had a lot of problems with engines snapping back around on Infernal Robotics, and even speaking to Jester and a few other people, I still cannot figure out what's going wrong with my Infernal mod. It's living up to his name, really. So here we go, just getting out a smaller rover. This time it is the actual Buffalo that I'm using. I didn't need the big one, so... And then just over to the ship, and as you can see, just deleting, disassembling parts, splitting them off into different sections. And this will also have the added bonus of getting my frame rate back up. When I was running this entire section, it was running around about 4 frames per second. So you can imagine that's quite a lot to do. And then just so that my pilot didn't die on board this ship, because it has, I believe it has 5 or 7 crew spaces. I think it's 5 crew spaces. It's a good return ship for getting rid of some people once I don't need them. So I figured that I would just bring it over next to the base and then just hook it up with pipes. So after a lot of messing about with the RCS, trying to get it close enough that the pipes would hook up, but not so close as I managed to snap a wing into something. Out we come, grab some pipes. Now the funny problem I've noticed with this is once you hook up something with pipes, once you unclip it, the pipe becomes the root part of the vehicle that was attached, which created some interesting problems with coming to fly it. I didn't realise what was going on. Now here we go. It was actually designed as one of my Karborundum return ships, and I could never get it to work properly, although I love this design of the craft. The reusability expansion is where you see the stripe across the top of the ship is actually deployable wings, so that once it's empty, the idea originally was once it's got Karborundum in it, it makes it fly a little bit better, adding a centre mass over there. I never quite got it to work brilliantly. It couldn't fly with a full tank of Karborundum. However, it was still such a fun space plane to fly that I've now changed it into a life support ship. So it's a drone ship that takes life support up. And what I'm doing with it just now is I'm just rendezvousing with one of the ships to drop off a couple of little modules, because it's got a bay with all the life support in it and a separate bay that it can deploy probes. It can deploy 2.5 meter probes. So this was just dropping off to that, and then with the rest of the life support that was actually mounted into this ship, I decided to land it onto the base. Obviously minmus has got such low gravity that I can manage to land without using any vertical thrusters if I don't have them. You can just tip the plane over onto its wheels. So that was the plan here. Land it, tip it over, hook it up with some pipes, and then have a whole load of life support, just so that I've got enough for any time warps that are coming up, because you don't want to run low on life support during a time warp. It can cause funny issues. And there we go. Literally landed straight onto the engines with no issue. It was that dark, it actually looks lighter on the screen. I know it's still dark, but it looks lighter on the screen than what I was seeing. So I didn't actually realise I had landed on the engines. I was still waiting for the ground because I couldn't see it. So there we go, just doing the jump to grab the pipes, hooking them up to the big bison. And there we go. So now I've got that hooked up, I decided just to save some frame rates, I just take this ship straight back. I don't need it for returning people at the moment. And my frame rate was crawling along at 2 frames a second, so time to go. Now, in the middle of doing this, I get a beautiful warning about my transfer window. I'm coming up on manoeuvre mode. Now, on this ship, on these style of ships, because of the way the engines work in the DSEV mod, you have to start the engine, and it takes a minute. It takes a lot of electricity to start the engine. Obviously, it's a fusion engine, you need to get the reaction going. So what I have to do is make sure my alarms are a little bit early, so that I can come to the module, crank up all the reactors to full. I usually use 2 or 3 reactors. Crank them all up to full, start the mod, and then go for the burn. And then you can see there how much heat is being generated. But that is us on our way out to Dres. So that's us for the moment. I hope you've liked what you've seen. I hope you come back to see a bit more. Please, again, like and subscribe if you like this stuff. It's nice to know that things are appreciated. And have a good one.